Hey everyone, it is Geek Furious, a podcast, or whatever. We don't even have to call it that.
We don't have to
anymore.
call it that. Just call it It's Us.
It's us. It's the name of the podcast. It's us, Geek Furious, Magnus, and VladyGG Vlad.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
And we are here. This is podcast number 1138. It's probably going to be, I think it's safe to say we will not do another podcast for a while.
True.
Like, even if I don't know if I have much more to say until we get the full trailer for Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. We are, of course, huge Star Wars fans. We are both children of the 70s and 80s.
Correct.
So we were young enough, or old enough, to have seen the original movies when they came out. Well, I mean, I didn't see them exactly when they came out, but I eventually saw them. I saw Return of the Jedi when it came out, though.
Yep, I saw all three when they came out, so.
Yeah.
So this is a big, big deal in many ways.
And also, we are prequel lovers.
Sure.
So you can just tune out fucking right now if you got a problem with that. What was the song I was writing earlier?
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, 'cause you're a cunt.
Right.
I think that was the song I was singing, but it was something like that. It was actually we should have been recording.
We should have.
That was better. It was better when I was singing earlier. But I don't care. I love the prequels, even though I see, like over time. I mean, I have bigger problems with the prequels over time, especially Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Which is hailed by many, including
as the best
prequel
of the
bashers,
prequels,
as
yeah.
the best, and they're wrong. It is not the best. The best is Phantom Menace, then Revenge of the Sith, and then Attack of the Clones. Even though Attack of the Clones has some beautiful moments in it, and probably my most memorable dialogue. I quote that movie more than any of the others.
Really? I did not know.
Dreams pass in time. I love that fucking line. There's so many little lines. Or when Dooku walks in and Obi-Wan has just one line, traitor. I love that, man. It's so fucking cool. And no, you misunderstand. This is madness. There's so many little lines in that movie that I don't know. I latch onto for some reason.
And the women and the children too.
Or when he says, "Lost our planet, Master Obi-Wan has." How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Liam, the shades. Gather around the map reader and clear your minds and find Obi-Wan's wayward planet we will. I remember all that shit. I don't know why. It's just that movie had such an impact on me.
Right. And it arguably has the best teaser out of all 6 movies.
One of them, yeah. The earlier teaser.
Yeah. The breathing teaser, whichever one it's called.
Which is the one that everyone always thinks about. Well, we're setting up the fact that we are not prequel bashers. We love the prequels, even if we have problems with them.
Right.
I have problems with the original trilogy, too. I have A New Hope, really. People love to overpraise these things in order to kind of like set up that their hate for the prequels is somehow justified because these things are so much better. And you're pretty much just writing bullshit arguments to fit in with your prequel bashing. That's all you're really doing, because A New Hope is full of fucking problems. Empire has less of them, but they are still there.
They're still there. And
Return of the Jedi.
Well, Return of the Jedi is the obvious choice that has the problems, but when you look at something even like Empire, when Empire first came out, I mean, I'm talking about a 10-year-old seeing it. I was not used to seeing a movie end on a cliffhanger of that sort. That was... It didn't make the most amount of money out of the original 3. If you look back, forget special editions, it didn't, and it was hailed as a great movie, but I don't think it came off being the better movie right away. It took time. I
think originally it had the most amount of negative reviews.
Right. Think about,
and then later on, as people reviewed it, it got more positive reviews, and of course, like if you go on Rotten Tomatoes or something, you look up. Positive versus negative reviews, you'd think like, oh, only like 2 people ever disliked it.
It's people re-reviewed it.
But back then, there were only 7 critics.
Right.
And when 2 of them dislike it, it's like Phantom Menace numbers,
Right. So I mean, you have to take it with a grain of salt how things are.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing that happened with the prequels happened with Return of the Jedi. If you look at it, I mean, as the movies progressed, people were bashing Return of the Jedi for the longest time.
And in fact, if you go back to the Internet Archive stuff, that archives like Internet discussions. They go as far back as I think 1984 or something like that. One of the first discussions you will find is Return of the Jedi bashing. Return of the Jedi comes out 6 years after
Star
A New
Wars.
Hope.
Yeah.
And I think those kids were like, 10, 12 years old, and all of a sudden they're in college, and they've changed their perspective. And so Return of the Jedi, I was a kid when I saw Return of the Jedi. I loved that fucking movie, man. That was my favorite Star Wars movie until like in the 90s when I revisited the movies on VHS, and I was like, oh my God, Empire. I used to I really thought Empire sucked.
Yep.
Like I hated Empire. And then I watched it as an adult, and I was like, oh my God. There's fucking some good shit.
It's pretty much exactly the way I feel about it with you too. I mean, and Jedi for the longest time was my favorite. I saw it 14 times in the movie theaters. Yeah. It was sort of my coming of age movie. I was 13. You're leaving sort of adolescence. I mean, you're leaving childhood going into adolescence. I was about to start high school, so it was like sort of my goodbye to my childhood.
Yeah, I was still some years away from high school.
Yeah, but for me, it was sort of that movie that I've had the fondest memories of, and when I went through exactly the same thing you did. Once the movies became readily available for home consumption, it was a whole different story for me at that point. That's how Empire became what it did for me. It was like, of course, the thing that worked so well about Empire was the minute it was over and you had them on videotape, you immediately went into Jedi. You were like, I can't stop. I have to watch Jedi now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess coming up to what we're talking about is what we're seeing right now, what's coming to us right now is something that we were expecting when we were kids. I'm tempering everything that we're going to discuss today with the idea that nothing is ever going to be able to live up to what we went through as children.
Impossible.
It's impossible. And that's what I think people have to come to grips with.
But they're not going to.
They're not.
The people who... The extremists, the internet extremists who have no intention of ever giving anything a fair shake or anything like that, they are always going to come at it from this kind of like hyperbolic, raging bullshit. Just this mentality of, you have to impress me. People who didn't hate the prequels, they've done this with the sword that's in the trailer.
Right.
But they were doing it before when when other websites were
running,
kind of running pictures that were like leaked pictures of it. And they were like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. And they're doing it now, and people are already going like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you would just cut yourself and all. Why don't you watch the fucking movie and then make that determination after you've seen it? Why does everything have to get judged before you actually see it in action? Like, you saw a piece of a trailer. You don't know how that's going to work. You don't know when it's going to be deployed in action. Also, aren't these supposed to be Force users? Why wouldn't they cut themselves prior to that? Like,
yeah,
you have the Force. It's your lightsaber. You're kind of like one with your lightsaber. So the Force protects you in that you don't cut yourself.
Right.
It's that simple. It's the same reason that the fucking Jedi can twirl their lightsabers all around and not fucking cut themselves in the prequels. This whole notion that it has to fit some sort of bullshit idea that you have. You're not that talented anyway. You're not a creator of anything. You've never done anything worthy of fucking of judgment of somebody else's work before you even know how it works. I don't understand that mentality. So the trailer starts and I'm watching it now. I've been awake for like 24 hours by the time the trailer comes out, because some people, like, I had a feeling it was going to come out around 10:30. Just because it made logical sense to me. No one had told me that. No, I didn't have any inside knowledge on that. And then there were some people, like, people who have been right about a lot of things, who were saying it was going to happen last night at midnight Pacific time, which made no sense to me.
That makes
because I've never seen Hollyweird operate on, even though they're all in Pacific time, they've never operated on that, because 90% of the country is on the other coast, like on the East Coast or the Central time zone. Why would they do it? It just makes no fucking sense. So that's why I was saying, like, it's going to happen on East Coast Standard Time. It's not going to happen on any other, because you don't cater to 12% of the market. That makes no sense. So, but I was like, okay, maybe they're going to do that. If these people who I trust are saying something, I'm going to, and then I waited up, and then at that point I was like, well, fuck it. Now I'm not even tired. And then I've been rewatching Battlestar Galactica, so I said, I'll just watch Battlestar Galactica.
You stayed up all night?
Yeah, so I watched Battlestar Galactica, like season 1, and then and then the trailer came out, and I watched that. Now, I'm setting this whole thing up because I think it's shaped a little bit, and I've just been watching Guardians of the Galaxy a few days earlier. I think it shapes a little bit of my expectation or my reaction, which was very tempered and very kind of so-so. I did not watch that like I did with Phantom Menace. When the Phantom Menace teaser came out, I was like, I practically like ripped. I was in the theater when I saw it the first time, and I nearly ripped the seat out and threw it across the aisle. I was so excited, like I was so like I could not believe. Me and my friends were there, and we didn't even know it was happening. Like we were like, why is the theater so full today for this movie? I don't understand. I was so excited, and but also I was in my 20s, and
Different time.
Just the and I wasn't expecting it
16
really.
16 years of anticipation.
Oh my God! So we're sitting there, I'm sitting here watching this thing, and it comes up, and I think there's always a pacing thing that you do with trailers when you're expecting something to happen right away, and I think it's because we've anticipated this. And it's just a shot of a desert.
Right.
And you're kind of like, what's happening? Like, come on, let's fucking go. I want to see something. And then John Boyega pops up. And, and now on subsequent viewings, I love that. And I think that it's really great setup. And I bet it's very much like that in the movie, like where he's just crashed or something and then he pops up. I don't want to throw out spoilers because we're not
here about talking spoilers.
That opening and then the dialogue, there's been an awakening, the dark side. Like he lowers it, dark side, and the light.
Yep.
But he says lighter.
Yes, he
like
does.
It's up, and dark side is lower. Almost like they're talking to somebody who is maybe like a sage of some kind or something like. Maybe someone directing them towards something else.
Right. Before we jump the gun, let me give you a little bit of where I was and how I came around to it, so we can organically go into it. Sure. I had gone to the movies. I'd taken my kid to go see Penguins of Madagascar, and I, for some stupid reason, I went to a 10:45 show this morning, and not knowing that the trailer was going to come out. So I was home at 10, so I was able to check 10 o'clock, and nothing was up. I make it to the movie theater. I get into the movie theater. The trailers are about to hit. All of a sudden, I get a text. Somebody saying, "Holy shit." I'm like, oh, fuck. So the trailers are going on. I immediately go to iTunes trailers, and
wait a minute. You're in the movie theater, watching
trailers, and I start watching the trailer, which was the stupidest thing I could have ever done because it's like you're not getting the full effect of it. You can't hear everything that's going on.
Oh my God.
So let me put it to you this way: it was one of those things where I had to erase it from my memory and say, "Look, when we get home, reset." I made my kid and my wife sit down and watch it with me like twice. Yeah. So that's sort of where I came from, and you mentioned something which is really interesting. Is like how tempered you were about it.
Yeah.
And I was exactly the same way that you were, and people were all asking me, "How do you feel about it?" I go, "You listen to the podcast, and you'll hear how I feel." I'm not coming across in any sort of way saying that it's a bad trailer. I don't think it's a bad trailer. Yeah. My expectations of it were a little bit different. I understand what they're trying to do, and we'll get into it a little bit further. I mean, you're reintroducing the audience to this world, and you're reintroducing it by showing pretty much new faces, but the familiar things that are in there are iconic.
And let's also not forget, this is a teaser.
It's
a
teaser.
Not a trailer.
Right.
There will probably be 2 trailers eventually down the line that will flesh out the story.
But I think what you do get, and the money shot, which everybody's calling it, is
the Falcon.
The Falcon. I mean, that to me is
actually. You know what's let's just. I mean, let's go kind of scene by scene.
Let's go scene by scene. So let's go back.
So we start off with Boyega, he pops up and all that. I think that's a very interesting shot. And I love how like he's sweaty and all that stuff. Like, there's something. We've talked about this before about JJ and my disappointment in the the second Star Trek movie, but my love for the first one is because I could see these Star Warsian things, that I was like, God, this guy should direct a Star Wars movie. He's so fucking good, and so I'm seeing that already. Like that's one of the only thing that I was really sitting down for because I knew I'm not going to get any satisfaction from a teaser trailer about the story. I'm too jaded these days. I know way too much about the industry now that I didn't know,
back
16 years ago. Right. So I watched that, and by the way, I had the same reaction when I saw Revenge of the Sith trailers because I had already, by that point, I was already jaded. I was already, a Star Wars insider, whatever the fuck you want to call that. Mm-hmm. I knew everything about the movies going in, so I had a very different reaction to like Revenge of the Sith than I did even Attack of the Clones. And maybe that's why Attack of the Clones is still stuck with me in ways that Revenge of the Sith hasn't, because I was too in the know at that time. Mm-hmm. But going into this, when I see that, I'm already like, when he pops up and everything, I'm like, yes, I like that. That's good. I don't know how other people are going to react to that, but I like it because all I'm looking for is how JJ's shooting this movie.
Right.
And so in that shot, and then what's the next one? The next one is
the next shot is
the robot.
The robot.
Completely unnecessary, like when Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and the fucking little robot pops up, and you're like, I don't know, I'm in the moment. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
And that's why I had a problem with it. I think the robot's cool looking, and I'm sure in the movies, he's not going to be Jar Jar Binks, like people going, oh, that's the Jar Jar, there he goes. But it took me out of the moment to have him rolling. Like I said, initially, I've watched the trailer several times now. It doesn't bother me
as much because
but initially it does bother me. But then we get to the stormtroopers, and that's a really cool shot.
Very kinetic in the sense of what's happening, and I like the way that they focus on the weapon. Get
because there's a difference too. There's like an indicator.
There's an indicator.
Maybe an ammo count.
The indicator, like how they call the crying clown makeup, the crying clown helmets. Now they're sleeker.
I've never even heard it referred to that.
So I read it today. Somebody mentioned that, but I think it's the sleeker helmets, more modern helmets, but still the iconic stormtrooper thing. The whole idea of the door opening. It's something going on. Then what's the next shot? The next shot after that is Daisy Ridley, right?
Now Daisy Ridley. I don't know that much about Daisy Ridley. I've seen a few little things with her, but I've got no sense of her. You know what I'm saying? That close-up shot of her, like, sold me. Like, I was like, yep, I'm Daisy Ridley fanboy now.
Well, I mean, it's purposely done in such a way, especially the following shot where she blasts off
I just mean she's so adorable.
She's adorable, and I mean,
sold.
yeah, and she looks. It's
she looks badass.
She looks badass. Yeah. She's going into some sort of outpost. It brings back memories of the speeder bikes in Jedi. It does.
Because I've already seen a few people complain, like, "Oh, this looks too much like the prequels."
What looks like the prequels? There's nothing. There's nothing in there that looks like the prequels to me.
That's just what they do, dude. People don't need an excuse. They just need to say it, and then it becomes true. Being negative on the internet is a sport. It's gotten harder to attack people for their differences, so now they have to attack them for their taste. And that's really what the internet is about these days, about attacking people for their taste or being super racist on Reddit. Is it either one of those? But that's what I've seen it. I've seen people go, it's too much like the prequels.
There's nothing in it that's like the prequels.
Well, the robot. I think that's the only
thing. The robot is about the only thing, but I understand why it's there. They're showing you certain things that look similar to what we are accustomed to. And they've changed them ever so slightly, which leads me into the next scene, which is probably the next big money shot in the thing, which is the X-wing skimming across the water.
Okay, so that's my money shot. Okay, that for me is the shot that I watch over and over.
It's just that's really the one
that
cool
I have
scene.
As my wallpaper right now, background.
Yeah,
it is art. It is gorgeous. It is JJ through and through, and the funny thing that and again, this is the internet, baby. Internet criticism, gotta go for taste or fake outrage, as I like to say. Oh, I thought he was doing practical effects, and it looks so CGI. It looks like it was. How do you fucking look? There are no real X-wings, you fucking moron. Also, most of you people can't tell the difference between CGI and practical effects anyway, but you all talk shit. And you all think you know what you're talking
because it's
about.
Anonymous bullshit. It's like, I haven't been touched by a woman, so I'm going to just fake outrage about everything that I can.
No, but what's sad is that it's become now so easy. Again, it's just about ease. It's like, what are bullies? Bullies are just big people or little people. It just depends, really. But it's usually big guys who have no other outlet of expressing their perceived dominance. So they use what they have, which is muscles or size or whatever. And all it is for the internet is the easiest target is Star Wars. And so I've been saying this for a while. It does not matter whether these movies are good or not. They will shit on it. And if you remember when Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out and that trailer came out, And I stand by what I said then. I think the trailer is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what people around the internet were like, this movie's gonna fail. This movie's gonna suck. The trailer looks stupid. And then it's like the biggest fucking movie of the year, and everyone loves it, and everyone says the trailer's great. And in fact, when they did, the industry does studies on what most affects people and what brings them most in, it's the trailer. The trailer brings people in more than anything, more than word of mouth, more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's the trailer. More than actors who are in the movie, it's the trailer. That trailer is why that movie succeeded. And all the people said, that trailer sucks. And I guarantee you this movie's going to do well because people see this teaser trailer. Probably 95% of people who watch anything on the internet don't read the comment section anyway. They just watch and then they get the fuck out of there and they don't fucking bother. So I don't think it really matters, but they can set agendas. And they can set the agenda in the mindset of the critics who cover these things and then who then just ape the same shit they just heard because they think that's pop culture. So in watching this trailer, I see this shot. I think it's a gorgeous shot, the fucking X-Wings. Then you pull in on Oscar. Seeing him piloting an X-Wing was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that shot was awesome. That really got my blood boiling, man. I don't mean in anger. I was like that.
Really cool.
Then I was like, if that is not the final money shot, what's coming next? That's what I was thinking.
Right, and then they give you I call it the Maul moment. which is the
Darth Maul moment.
The Darth Maul moment, yeah, which is whoever's running with a red lightsaber, whoever the bad quote unquote bad guy is.
And the lightsaber is different.
Look at sort of the beam itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't look
it's erratic. Yeah.
It's erratic.
It's different and here's another point of contention, like people go, and we were talking about that earlier, but the things come out and they're like, "Oh, why do you need a handguard?" I don't know. Watch the movie.
Watch the movie
and find out why do you need that. Maybe it's used as a weapon. I actually think it looks cool. So,
I actually I don't mind that. I think it's an interesting take on things.
It's very interesting. It's different.
It's very interesting. And then
the voiceover says, I mean, there has been an awakening, and have you felt it? So we're guessing he's talking to a character, and then he says the dark side and the light. So there's been an awakening of both sides.
So that could very well be, I mean, if you want to look at it, if you're looking at the universe within the trailer itself, which is kind of interesting, he mentions that last bit when they present the bad guy with the saber. Yeah. But if you go back to the beginning of the trailer and you see when he goes, "There's been an awakening."
Maybe the title of the movie, The Force Awakens, isn't just the use the Force, but the Empire or even the Republic or whatever. Like, we don't know. It's kind of like the Phantom Menace title, which means more than just one thing.
And then there's nothing for about a split second.
Yeah.
And then, bam! You see the Falcon. And it goes into this gut-wrenching loop.
And you can see, there are these contrails.
Right.
You actually
see contrails, almost like...
He's in atmosphere.
That is something very interesting about every shot in this trailer. I mean, because we're really up to the last shot of the trailer right now. But the movie's... It's Star Wars. Not once do you see outer space. Everything is within atmosphere.
Exactly.
Which is so interesting in and of itself.
That is not Tatooine. There's only one sun.
Good point. Very good point. What's interesting,
and the only lens flare
is the star in the back is the sun, which is.
But I'm just saying, if you look, there's only one star.
Well, the other thing that you pick up on is that the radar dish is no longer round. The radar dish is
but they lost that in Return of the Jedi,
and which is great that they actually are holding on to that. That they go.
A lot of people are like, "Where's the fuck of did you watch Return of the Jedi?
Yeah,
did you watch it?
And again,
he clips it off inside the Death Star.
And what's the line right before he clips it? That's Nia Nub going, boom. That was too close.
Such awesome fans. They even criticize things that they're wrong about. I love it.
And then flips over and then goes head on with two TIE fighters, which is really strange because I'm trying to see the shots that I've seen. They look just a little bit different enough.
Mm-hmm.
But they are still TIE fighters, and you hear the noise.
There's a similar shot, actually, in Return of the Jedi.
Where
when he first enters the Death Star.
Right, yep. That's right.
So it's been done before in a way, but
we should prepare ourselves that if this movie lives up to the expectations and does great, and it turns out to be one of the better Star Wars films,
right?
The destruction of George Lucas. Like everybody.
Even though these are stories based on, this is based on his story. Even though, yes, JJ and Kazan rewrote the Michelangelo script, or didn't rewrite it. I mean, apparently they kept a bunch of it. But still, this is George Lucas's outline. Essentially, you're still operating on George Lucas' story. So if it works, then if it doesn't, then they'll just blame JJ and George Lucas, because they already have an issue with JJ. So anytime you're successful at anything, like there's a built-in fan base that just wants to attack JJ for things Lindelof did and Lost.
Right,
like,
and they're still.
but JJ wasn't even involved after season 1.
JJ's a figurehead for most of the shows that you love dearly. JJ's there to get it off the ground or hate. Get it off the ground, and then he moves on. Don't blame JJ for Fringe.
I read something. It's come out now that Ronald D. Moore wrote a bunch of scripts for the Star Wars TV show that hasn't been shot yet. And so you were like, oh, Ronald D. Moore, of course, creator of fucking Battlestar Galactica, or the 2004 version. And so you're like, yeah, it's exciting. That's awesome. And in fact, they sat around, and you and I actually talked about this long before the story came out, because one of my friends wrote a script for that, or wrote several scripts for that TV show. They wrote like 50-something scripts or something like that. And Ronald D. Moore was like, brought in a bunch of people who were Battlestar Galactica people, because they were like, okay, we want Battlestar Galactica in Star Wars. That's what they wanted, and it sounds like it would have been awesome. So I read something, somebody's like, Ronald D. Moore, well, fucking great that didn't get made, because look at how much Battlestar Galactica sucked. And it's really, the only problem that people really have with Battlestar Galactica is like the final few minutes
of the show
and one scene. That's it. That's the only problem you can really, like, it's not like Lost, where the final season of Lost, they did a whole storyline that amounted to very little in the grand scheme of things. Like, I understand why they did it, but upon subsequent rewatches, you kind of go, oh, this isn't even important.
This wasn't necessary.
I can just fast forward through half the fucking season. It's interesting, and it's important to the plot, and it doesn't mean what a lot of people who pretend it means something. I will just spoil it right now. They were not dead the whole time. And with Ronald D. Moore, they just attack it. So it's like anything. It doesn't matter. Like, if there's any little thing that geeks or nerds have latched onto, this is easy. They don't have to make any effort to attack George Lucas. It's like the dumber you are, the easier it is to get you to respond to something stupid or something that is not true. Like when people say, well, I mean, one of the most bandied about lies about the prequels is they didn't build any sets. No, there were no sets on that. It was all
green screen.
Oh yeah. Well, they say blue screen because they don't know any better. They're from 1970 and they still say blue screen. It's all blue screen. Yep, the whole fucking movie. Even though just one prequel movie had more sets than all of the 3 original trilogies combined. That's a fact. That's not like nobody made that up. The problem with those movies is not the fact that they shot it on blue screen and all that stuff. Is that not that they didn't use models. It's that the method they used to execute. Well, yes, in a sense, it is that the writing wasn't as good, and maybe not the storytelling, but the writing wasn't as good, and they made bad acting choices. They cast a couple of people who should not have been cast in those movies. The Jar Jar thing, you know what? That's one of those things you don't know until you do it, if it's going to work.
Right.
And it didn't work, apparently, for a lot of people. For a lot of kids, it worked.
For a lot of kids,
for a lot of adults, it was like the nail in the fucking coffin. And even as a Jar Jar fan, I think the little fucker is hilarious at times. But there are several scenes in that movie where you're just like, God, George, how did you... Like, why didn't anybody step up and go, George, do not have him step in shit.
It's just,
and then
come
go,
on.
Icky poo. Do not have him do his little fucking, like, gravity-defying flip into water, because that just takes me right out of the movie every time.
Do not have him smell like whatever that EOP's fart was.
All these little things that you were like, when he is more subtle, like when you watch The Phantom Edit, and you go, even though I think The Phantom Edit makes major mistakes, like people go, oh, Phantom Edit, that's the best, that's the best version. It's not. There are other versions of it that don't do as much as The Phantom Editor did. And I think it makes the movie better. You can't take out every fucking scene with Jar Jar in it practically and still have the movie
Keep him in the
work.
movie, just keep him more subdued. And that's it. That doesn't have to be.
When he's subdued, he's fun. And then every now and then have him do some whackings. And, you know, based on what I know of the story, there are definitely things in there that if you hated the prequels and you think that they're going to wash it away and they're going to be like, well, midichlorians never existed. Ha ha ha. That's not going to happen, buddy.
Right.
Get ready because you're going to be loving this movie. And then all of a sudden, someone's going to start talking about midichlorians, and you're going to lose your shit. Fuck you, you're a little con. Sorry, I
just
apologize.
went off on a tangent there, but
dude, I'm just saying, like, if you really believe that they're just going to wash it away. Remember when they were saying for like 6 years, they were going like, George Lucas is never going to mention fucking midichlorians ever again. And they became one of the biggest fucking points of contention in Revenge of the Sith. That the reason he turns is because he finds out that you can manipulate midichlorians. And people kind of like dismissed it because they were like, I like Revenge of the Sith better. So,
but it's still in there.
Midichlorians are a major factor in that movie. Do you really think they're not going to come up again?
The Emperor's sitting there playing his entire hand.
Is there a way you can learn that power or whatever?
Not
he's
from
like,
the
not
from
a
Jedi. Right, and he goes, you know, did I ever tell you the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Well, I create life from
but we don't know if that's the truth, though. He may have been lying.
He could have been lying, but I tend to believe that.
I think he was lying to him.
You think so?
See, that's how I always took it that he was lying. But that's what a Sith would do. Like a Sith would just manipulate the situation to get him to turn because he never gives him any power to bring anyone back.
Nope, he doesn't. Oh, and the coolest thing, not the coolest thing, one of the cool things is, so the trailer ends. They give you the December 2015. The Star Wars thing comes up, which is kind of nice. And then you hear ever so slightly in the background, you just hear a lightsaber. You do hear a lightsaber. So,
really? I didn't even notice that.
Go back and listen, and you'll hear a lightsaber.
Hold on. Shut up. I'm going to put it on right now. Hold on. You were probably not going to hear it on the podcast. Oh, I didn't notice that, though.
Right?
Okay. That's interesting. There's also like a hum when it pulls out. It's like, it goes, brum, and then you go,
yeah, right?
There's a little bit of that, too. But, that's interesting. Yeah. They've done that before on something, I believe.
Well, they did it. They did it at the end of, well, not the trailers, but they did it at the end of Phantom Menace, where you hear.
They did an explosion at the end of it. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of cool.
It's such a great trailer. That fucking Phantom Menace trailer is so great. Like so much better than the movie, and I love the movie, but that fucking trailer, man.
Yeah,
they're like, it can only mean only one thing: invasion. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. It's like fucking one of the worst scenes in the entire movie was one of the like a favorite line in the trailer, and it was like, I will not sit here and something in the committee.
As a committee, right? Yeah.
I forget what the line is. Something like why can't I remember? It's been so long. That's why. And the first time I saw a Phantom Menace, when she says that line, the audience cheered because they had watched the trailer like 9 million times. No one cheers now. Watching that, but it's like it was the lines from that trailer. People cheered the first time I watched the movie, and they would say, you know, at last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
Little did we know that was the only
people
line.
Went, yes.
Little did we know that was probably going to be one of the only lines he would say in the movie.
He had more lines, but they cut him. Yeah,
I don't understand why they would cut them though.
They had one line that you can actually see in some making of thing, and he's actually having a conversation with Sidious. And they cut that. I have no idea why. So anyway, we're an hour into this podcast, figuring that I cut out 15 minutes.
So, I'm going to tell you. This is what I'll tell you about it. It serves its purpose exactly what it is. It's a teaser, and it does it well.
Yeah.
That's, again, did it blow me away? I was expecting a little bit more. I know I was a purist, and you and I have discussed this, and I said, look, I wanted to see
I know you wanted the original cast.
I've come to understand why it is how it is, and I understand.
But in 4 months, you won't even think about it.
I won't even think about it, but just knowing, what the touchstones that hit me, like seeing the familiar sights, which is a big thing when you think about it. Seeing the Falcon, seeing the TIE Fighter, seeing the X-Wings, seeing those things, it more than makes up for not seeing the original characters. I mean, you get to realize this is the world that you knew, but it's different. And
Yeah.
and we're introducing a whole new set of characters, a story, and it's fine. I mean, it serves its purpose. It's Star Wars. That's a little bit different, and that's
But
fine.
we're also reasonable people, and we're not 20, and
Right,
so
and
we don't need hyperbole to express ourselves, and we don't have to pretend like it's worse than it is. And I think that's why we can watch something like that and actually feel maybe a little bit underwhelmed at first.
But
And I
then,
don't feel the same way now. Like I said, the more I watch it, I go, oh yeah, these are really nice touches.
yeah, I mean, I
Um,
think once you go into it a little bit further, and I know that, like you said, in 4 months, when
mhm.
the trailer comes out, which is going to give you a little bit more
Oh yeah,
story,
yeah.
then you're going to be salivating. I mean,
Because you're gonna be, they're gonna flesh things out that right now are just like questions. They're just like, well, what does this mean?
well, it's just like, yeah, right now this is a sampling. You're just getting sort of the flavor of.
And it's much earlier than, like, people say, like, oh, well, they did the same thing for Phantom Menace or for the prequels. No, they didn't. No, the teasers for the prequels came out in November, around this time.
November,
actually.
yes, it did. It was November.
But those movies came out in May.
Right,
Okay,
that was yeah. You're talking about a year in advance. The only movie that I remember.
this is 13 months in advance of the
13
movie.
months.
Almost
Well,
13
right.
months in advance of the movie.
Does anybody here remember the teaser for the Fellowship of the Ring? The Fellowship of the Ring.
I don't actually.
The Fellowship of the Ring was just one quick shot of them walking over the mountain.
Oh yeah, okay, I do actually remember. Yeah, it was a slow-mo shot.
It was a slow-mo shot of them walking over the mountain, establishing shot of your main characters.
Yeah,
And
now
that
I
was
remember
fucking
that, yeah.
well.
And people lost their minds.
They lost their
over that.
minds. I mean, it was the fucking tits because it was like you're actually seeing these characters visualized.
Yeah.
For the first time, and I mean that's great. I mean but that was a year in advance. What else are you going to get from this?
I don't like that Anthony Daniels went out and said, "Oh, you used to think that Empire was the best sequel. Well, guess what?
Yep.
Wait until next year." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck
up!
up!
Shut up! Shut up!
Stop fucking saying shit like that."
You're never
'Cause
going to
now
be
you're
able to
telling
create
people,
that again.
Come and attack us. Come watch my shit. And it would be like if I went out and said online, "I'm writing the greatest fucking book ever. And when you guys read it, your fucking balls are going to fall off and you're going to pull your dick out. You're going to be like, I have no more need for this. This is all the sex orgasm of awesomeness I ever need." And then you read it and you're like, yeah, this was pretty good, but fuck you, because you told me it was going to make me want to rip my dick and balls off, and I didn't. You should never fucking do that. And that's why I like when they did The Force Awakens, the title announcement. They were just like,
Here it is.
Principal photography on Force Awakens is over. And people were like, wait, what? But there's no title. No, that's the title.
That's the title.
Yeah. I'm actually happy that I had an underwhelming experience watching this, and that I was kind of so-so, and that even though I thought it was a really good teaser,
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that I wasn't blown away. Because if I had been blown away, my anticipation level would have been
higher.
huge, and then now I'm cool. You know what? I'm happy right now that I wasn't blown away. And I think people should be happy because, as someone said, yeah, I thought the Phantom Menace trailer was awesome, and then I hated the movie. So maybe this is a good thing that I hate the fucking trailer.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. I think.
I'm saying that's what this person said.
Yeah, that to me is like the trailer elicited such.
It's
a
only
level of
extremes.
hate.
Yeah, these people only live in extremes.
What about the fact? Like I said, think about it logically. What is it doing?
Yeah.
Does it work for you as a trailer?
Mm-hmm.
Leave your preconceptions aside, and that's sort of the thing I've been wrestling with all day, which is. Yes, this is what you wanted. This is not what you got, but you got something. And what do you get? And what's that feeling right then and there?
You can't get what you want anyway. Grow up.
But if you try, sometimes you just might find you get what you need.
Yeah. If you know what? If you get married enough times, eventually you're going to find the right one.
Sure. Because you can marry your soulmate God knows how many times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, oh my God, you just got into some deep shit right there. That's some deep shit. Like anybody who's listening to this who's like under the age of like 30,
yeah,
is like, what do you mean more than one soulmate? What does that mean? More than one?
You are now
only one
into
soulmate.
the bonus
is my
portion
wife.
of the podcast. Magnus and Vlad will talk about feelings.
Let me tell you kids something. You fucking kids who don't know anything. You people under 35. Because I consider you all kids. Because that's how old we are.
Yes.
Is that you're all little kids to us. Those people who are like 25 who are like, you know what? When I was a kid, I'm like, shut the fuck up.
You're a fucking kid.
You're a baby.
You're a
you don't
kid.
fucking know
you
nothing.
You turn till adult until you're 32.
Maybe 40. Maybe 40. I don't think I'm an adult yet. But let me tell you, here's a little secret about life. When you're younger, you look at your parents and you go, I don't know. I can't see them being kids. We always think we're kids. Always. And I'm the same person I was at 15, at, whatever age I'm pretending to be now. 47, I think that's what I'm telling people now. I'm that same person. The only thing is I've just learned things now. That they're just don't overreact to everything. Don't fucking, because it doesn't do you any good. That's the only thing. Maturity is just finding out when not to overreact. That's all it is.
I used to get so excited about things, about certain things coming out, a movie, an album, or something like that, and you learn that you become tempered, and you're like, does that mean you don't love these things anymore? No, it's your experience. Your experience is you learn to accept things, and then if something sticks and it's something that makes you happy, or you revisit it over and over again, then...
And the flaw of modern mankind is that they believe that somehow that passion that you have as a teenager is somehow more potent and more important than the passion you have in your 40s. There have been studies done that people over the age of 35 up to 50 do the most creative work, the most inspired creative work. Some of the best, the top novels of all time were written by people between the ages of 35 and 50. Why do we put so much emphasis on what 20-year-olds like? Or actually, there are almost no books written by people under 30 that are classics. There are almost none. There's like a couple, but it's very rare. Empire Strikes Back was the most inspired Star Wars movie, was created by an old fart. So if you think that like your passion in your youth is somehow rewarded in life with inspiration, you're wrong. It's not.
It's experience. Learn to experience.
Experience is everything.
Experience is everything. Fail a couple of times. Love a little bit. Learn to see how things...
enjoy the things you love. Don't fucking work so hard to
don't be cynical about them. Don't stifle.
I don't mind
things.
people being cynical. I just
mind
cynical
about the things
when
that
they
you love.
pretend it's worse than it is.
Well, that and downplay the stuff that you love. That's
why
the one.
Do people do that?
People do it because they don't think it's too cool. It's like if you're into video games, if you're into comics, if you're into television, if you're into whatever, painting lead models or whatever it is, just do it.
Hey, that's actually pretty cool. No, but I think what you said here at the end here is the most profound thing, which is don't worry about being cool. I mean,
don't worry about it.
And maybe that's what it is. When you get into your 30s, you suddenly realize, oh, I don't care if people think I'm cool, and that's why you kind of get over it. And the people who don't get over it, I actually think that a lot of the people who were older, who were like in their 30s when the prequels came out and overreacted to them, I just think it's as simple as that they have borderline personality disorder. And they go on the internet to seek validation. And because you can't act that way in real life. In real life, if you're borderline and you act out like that in the real world, people tune you out.
They'll tune you out, or you will end up being institutionalized.
Yeah, or
they'll
kick you, they'll throw you out of their house or whatever.
Right.
On the internet, you can't do that. And you may say like, oh, I think Magnus is just being he's being a little cynical. No, I actually believe that. I think, and there have been enough studies to show that the trolls on the internet are sociopaths, borderlines, and narcissists. So those are the people you're allowing to shape pop culture are fucking people who need to be medicated. Fuck them. Fuck them up, their stupid cunts. Sorry. All right, that's it. We enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to more, and we will not do another podcast for at least 6 months.
Later.
Yeah, I'm not worried about anything else until Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Galaxies? What am I adding? No. Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy 2.